Okay, all right. So, good morning. Thank you for being at Zazenkai with us today. I think I wrote most of this Dharma talk last Saturday when Chris gave his Dharma talk on Saturday. I was thinking, I was having some internal conversation about Dharma, before Chris's Dharma talk on Sangha. And Chris coincidentally mentioned the Suzuki Roshi potato reference, but I was having potato thoughts of the Dharma. I was thinking of the Dharma being put into us, and I thought about like a potato masher mashing the Dharma into us, and I was like, maybe not. But I was thinking of a metaphor. I was saying how the Dharma, isn't something far away, how it quietly overlays our lives, right? And our behaviors, our thoughts, and our speech. But it's not mashed into us. It didn't fit. So why not? Potato masher is a tool. It requires great effort, force, and deliberate intention, right? And you got to press down, you got to push, you got to put a lot of energy and will into mashing potatoes. It's just a fact. So it didn't resonate with me as a dharmic tool. So that's sort of the antithesis of our methodology in Zen. Practice, it's not about pressing, not about grinding, not about shaping ourselves by any force of the will. It's not about taking up a tool and making something happen. In fact, Zen points us away from attainment altogether. The Heart Sutra reminds us, with nothing to attain, the Bodhisattva lives prajna paramita. And so the potato masher had to be set aside, because it carried with it the image of striving. And in this practice, striving is what obscures us. Then I thought about this more carefully. And I thought about it after my sitting on Saturday and my dejection at the potato masher thing. And I realized that the problem wasn't just the image. It was the whole subject-object idea. Because we are not potatoes, and the Dharma is not some external tool. And that was somewhat revelatory for me. And we're living beings. We are fluid and responsive. And the Dharma is not a masher, but a filter, a net, or even a weave. And when we take up the Dharma, when we take it into our lives, it becomes the subtle and permeable filter that's always present. And when the water of life passes through it, it flows out clear. We don't need to force it. We don't push it. Practice doesn't work like that. We simply allow. We let it be. Peter Schneider once said, the Dharma isn't something you put on like a new suit of clothes. It's more like a sieve you pour your life through. What remains is the clarity already there. I'll say that again. The Dharma isn't something you put on like a new suit of clothes. It's more like a sieve you pour your life through. What remains is the clarity already there. Beautiful. But coming back to the potato image, Suzuki Roshi gave us that, and I did want to reference that again. So I'll go off on a tangent here. When Suzuki Roshi said, when you put potatoes in a pot of water and wash them, they rub against each other, and little by little they clean themselves, and this is sadhana. So we don't need outside tools, okay? We need to be together in the water of practice, rubbing against one another in this ordinariness of life, right? This is a practice of everyday life, of living. Slowly, our rough edges wear away. And this is the spirit of the Heart Sutra, when it says, with nothing to attain, the Bodhisattva lives prajna paramita. And what does that mean? It means that the wisdom of the heart, prajna, is not something we gain through effort. It's not something that could be acquired. It's steady. It exists within us. When we access it, even for a moment, it infuses us with clarity, determination, and the vow to realize the Buddha way. It imbues us with compassion. And it's like the filter we spoke of before. It's like the sieve that Peter spoke of. We don't create the water's purity. Purity was always there. The water was always clear. The Dharma strains out the color, the projections, the clingings. This wisdom, this prajna wisdom, doesn't have a color, and its unconditioned clarity remains. And it's not apart from compassion. It doesn't stand aloof. When it shines, it naturally flows into right speech, right action, right livelihood, the whole path, the whole shebang. It all comes out. It contains everything. So let's keep rubbing against each other in this zazenkai, in our practice. Let's keep pouring our lives through the Dharma filter. Let's keep trusting that prajna paramita, the wisdom of our heart, it's always there. Always ready to flow clear. Thank you. Yes, Chris.
So I wanted to ask something to the effect of, so if we, I guess the question is, do we need to do anything in order to let ourselves be washed by the Dharma, or do we need to put ourselves in the filter, or how would that metaphor extend to our how to live our vow, I guess, or how to practice?
When we say the vows, we're weaving the filter. When we recite the sutras, we weave the filter. And when we practice, when we sit, we're slowly falling through the filter and we're infused with it. We don't take it with us. It is us. We just rediscover it within us. And that's why we learn the sutras, we understand the Dharma, and then we let it go. We go beyond it. We go beyond the words, and we live it. Yes,
Oh,
Jane.
Yeah, Gene. Oh, you're unmuted. Or sorry, you're muted. Hey, Jane, you're still muted.
Jane, you're on mute. I think somebody might need to
Oh,
go
looks like it's.
help. I'm not sure Jane can reach it. It
Yep.
might be too far away.
Okay.
Oh, there it
Is
goes.
that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've always read that nothing is hidden in the Dharma. And so I think maybe in practice, what we do is we learn to see it, and that we're always in the Dharma. There's no separation from it, but we don't have to do anything except learn how to see it. So that happens with meditation, where we can become very still and peaceful, and in those moments we can see the Dharma. The minute our mind starts to spin, we can't see it. So I think it's a question not so much of doing anything except sitting in meditation and being aware that we can see it if we're alert and present.
Thank you, Jane. Mike?
I don't know if this is a proper way to paraphrase it, but is it a matter of getting out of our own way when we are dealing with the Dharma and stuff, instead of anticipating, and our whole life's the Dharma in a way, our daily experiences and stuff, and we can learn from them, but we need to get out of our ways and just let everything.
You can't force the Dharma. You gotta get out of the way in that sense. You can't force your practice. You can't. Again, that's the antithesis of, you'd be striving to attain something, right? What we're doing, you're learning, you have curiosity, and that's the path. And all of this information, it's just guidance on your path. And you already know where you're going, you're just rediscovering it with that guidance, and then you let it go. And that, as Jane said, it's all done on the cushion. But, if you're reading books and scriptures and you're looking into the meaning of it, you're creating the fabric of that Dharma that will be infused into your practice. If that makes sense. Yes, Jay.
Another thing I was thinking of was, if I can remember it, it's in meditation, we don't do anything other than just be present in the moment to see it. And again, it's not something we have to work for, because it's always with us. We just don't see it. And once we learn how to see the Dharma, it's when we're very peaceful in meditation and see something very peaceful.
Yeah. As we say, I think in the Mountains and Rivers Sutra, but it is not near, it is not far. Well, if you're deluded, your mountains and rivers away from it.
Oh, is it if you are confused, mountains and rivers block your way?
Right. I was reading the different lineage.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so
But it's the
there's no
same.
reason to fight and strive for it because you're already in it. All you have to do is learn how to see that, and you do that in peace and serenity.
Hmm.
Mm,
Thank you for
Matt,
your
Robert,
talk.
thank you.
It was very
Matt,
nice, very interesting topic.
Yeah, one of my concerns is that there is an overemphasis on sitting without focusing also on movement when we're off the cushion. Movement in everyday life, whether we're washing our hands, brushing our teeth, doing dishes, walking from one place to another, picking up a pencil or a pen at our desks, etc. This is something that I talked with Peter about, and he called it movement meditation. And one of the things that I find very helpful is that my sitting meditation kind of turbocharges my movement meditation. And I just wanted to throw that up as part of the discussion and in response to what you were discussing. Spencer, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, you can't have one without the other. So, you have to have your sitting practice and then you carry it into the world with your mindfulness practice. And, you can, for lay practitioners, that would be the Eightfold Path. And for Chris, it would be the 250 instructions for a month that include how to wipe your rear. So, so that you don't have to think about it.
yeah. Mark Middlebrook.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Yes, I wanted to go back to the point of the forcing the Dharma, forcing ourselves to attain. And it's a tricky one because to force it doesn't really work. But we do have examples of, let's say, people taking vows. And I think it's the thing to think about as a promise to yourself or a promise to whoever you want to dedicate it to. But I also think it's like if we look at the lesson in the story of the Buddha, I mean, he lived a life of luxury and then he became a quester and he began questioning everything and searching through a lot of dead ends, starvation, uh, uh, being in the wilderness, begging, and he finally came up to the sit underneath the Bodhi tree. And you could say that it's one big effort to really force yourself to stay in meditation until you finally find it. But I do think it's more of a vow than anything else. And I just wanted to say that as a differentiation for people who might be confused about that. Taking vows is an intention, and following through is the path for what we try to aim for. So that's just what I wanted to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And that was sort of the genesis of my thoughts on the Dharma when I wrote this, was that people would be taking the precepts. They'd be doing jukai, taking a vow, and how do you explain the precepts and how they overlay into our lives. And so then the potato masher came to mind, and then the subtler metaphors ultimately came through. But this is about the vow and how we fold them into our lives on a daily basis. Yes, Jane?
I just wanted to comment on what you said about Suzuki Roshi's image of potatoes all being ground up next to each other. when I was having a very difficult time, Peter and I went to Hoshinji to talk to Harada Roshi. And when I got to him, I said, I'm having such a bad time. Why am I having such a bad time? And I described some of the problems to him, and he just laughed and said, well, that's because you're in the dark and you're bumping into everybody in the dark and you're hitting furniture which hurts you. He said, but don't worry, they just stay with it.
So is the Dharma like a
That was
light?
interesting, the feeling that we navigated, and that's a difficult time because we're used to having people explain everything.
Hmm.
And in the dark, nobody does. But in the dark, we don't even know who they are. But he just said, be patient, and it does pass like everything else. And that's it. It made a lot of sense to me at the time. So I just
Well,
became a
Harada
little more
Roshi,
patient and looked at what happened when things seemed to go.
yeah, Harada Roshi is one of
Yeah.
the preeminent Roshis of the 20th century. So Jane and Peter had the
Very
good
gentle and
fortune,
funny man.
yeah, of befriending him. So,
It's Seke Harada.
Yeah, and we liked him very much. He reminded me of a Tanuki, those little statues of the raccoon dog that has they're sitting on the front porch, for example.
yeah, we have one on the
Sign
front
of
porch
luck.
with the large gonads. Yeah.
You should see the 6-foot ones.
I'll look for one on Facebook Marketplace.
That's what we should put into the tree up front.
They're good luck. I was going to put it in the backyard. Jane said, no, it goes on the front porch.
I'd like you to see it in the front yard under the sycamore tree.
Neighbors love that.
If there wasn't already an HOA, I'm sure the neighbors would band together and make one.
Any other questions on the Dharma talk? Okay.